Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Georgia Shooting Connection Friday night live stream. We are live right now with JH 586, Chico Wise, and the fly that is buzzing around already. It's getting a little cold, so I'm hoping he's going to be real slow. Maybe I'll be able to catch him in midair and really impress somebody. Kyle's going to be joining us probably a little bit later. If we send out a couple other invites to see how it goes tonight. But everybody wants to go ahead and say hi, we can do that.
Sure, definitely. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us.
Probably a little bit later if we send out a couple other invites.
It's nice. Friday. I know how that is. It's Friday, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad you guys come to join us. And we got to, like Kyle will be late, but that happens in life. So thanks for being here.
Happy Friday night, everybody. Thanks for coming out to help us enjoy our Friday night. It seems like my video's lagging. I might have to step out and step back in here in a little bit, but they say my voice is up to speed. But yeah, it's been a tough week, guys. It's been a tough week, but it's Friday night. We're all here together. We're going to talk about some reloading stuff. I see Eagle Eye already out there in the chat. Cletus. I'm just glad it's Friday, and I'm glad we got some time to depressurize and we can debrief right now.
Right now. Yes, sir. I agree. Time to be able to shoot the breeze and decompress, so to speak, is always good. I was fortunate, guys. I had a really good week, so it's just kind of happened. I started off real hard though. Like I started off like getting up every day at 5. By the end of the week, I kind of petered out, but I was getting up at 5 and going to the gym and all that stuff. So I've started off the week kind of kicking butt, but so it's been pretty decent for sure. Oh, we got Big Al out there in the chat. Crazy Scotsman, Eagle Eye Shooting. Kyle Lusk here. He says he's going to be hopping on in a bit. JCM45, thanks for coming, brother. Thomas Pickering came in for a little while, gave us a nice little jab about our current electoral situation. And Tim over to PC Bullet Empire. Before we get going too far here, I wanted to bring up, I don't know if every Friday night I do a good enough job telling the viewers out there, the guys that, the people that aren't necessarily involved, is to go over to the Reloaders Network. It's at the reloadersnetwork.com. It's a great site, and it's a very good resource for reloaders, whether you're new or you're old. And then from there, you can possibly find your way to Slack, so you can go ahead and contact me, Jamie, Chico, Kyle, whoever you want to talk to, and talk to us directly and ask us any questions you might need answered. So just wanted to say that first off, and then maybe give a little shout out there towards the end as well. Kind of try to do this a little bit more methodically. Methodically? That can't be right. Methodically? Whatever.
Yeah.
Don't want to be too methodical. See, that's a word. We got Chico inside today. So we don't get to look at that big, beautiful blue machine.
Yeah, man. It's a little nippy out there.
Yeah, I bet it is. It's pretty nice down here. I mean, then again, for me, nice is when it gets to like 50s. I'm like, oh, thank God. So I don't know. That might be a little cold for you, but it's nice here tonight.
It's like maybe like hoodie weather or beanie weather for me. Got to keep the melon a little warm.
Yeah, it's 60 here right now is what the Weather Channel says. So I've got windows open on different sides of the house to get some cross breeze through here. Ocean 374, thanks for coming out, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah, I like it when it's like 60 degrees. I
like 60. I think it's a little colder here, man. This morning we had rain, and I was at work like, oh, and then it warmed up, and right at like 1 o'clock, temperature started dropping again. I was like, So. But it's cool. I like it still.
Is most of your work inside, or do you guys actually end up working out in like in a bullpen?
Yeah, no, it's inside, but our building is built in like maybe the 70s, so it's not much, But plus the doors are open because, and they're huge doors. You talking about doors that you can get a tractor trailer through. So, Yeah, that wind bounces right where my bay is. The wind bounces off the wall. The other guys be like, "You cold?" I said, "If you work down here by this door, you know what I'm talking about." So but I've got a heater that I have going, and the guys be like, "Hey, it's hot." I'm like, "Stay down there then."
Yeah, I'm familiar with that action. There was one of the ways in which we used to work at the shop is we had doors. There were tractor trailer sized doors across from each other, so you could drive straight through. And then we had a clean burn that was running, waste oil heater. And if you were near the vacuum, so that it was pulling all that heat by you, you'd burn up.
Right.
But if you were anywhere else in that shop,
Yeah.
you got icicles hanging off of you.
We've got that clean burn system that waste oil that it burns, produces heat, which is really economical, sort. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's free fuel.
Yeah, I mean because it's waste oil, but yeah, it definitely helps. But it gets cold in those shops, as a lot of guys know. If you're in the industry, any kind of those industries, if you're in a garage, it can get cold.
Yeah, it's something that it's so stupid, but I kind of actually miss it. I don't understand why. Don't ask me why, but I do kind of miss it. And there's a certain time when I was actually working on people's cars, and I don't miss that. That was a lesson I had to learn. Is I did not want to work on people's cars for a living. People drive junk, and they don't take care of their junk, and then I have to fix their junk. And that's no fun. But working on airplanes and when I was working with my dad doing machine work and stuff, I really did enjoy those times. So now that I'm flying a desk, it's kind of I don't know, good and bad. So Jamie, what all do you have go on this week, buddy?
Work kind of double dipped on me this week. They want all their Chromebooks up and running, but then they want to know how come I don't have the copiers fixed. So I mean, I guess I'm a Reese's peanut butter cup. I'm chocolate and peanut butter. I have to do both at the same time. Start in the middle and go both ways at once.
Yeah, it is amazing how they don't recognize when you have one person doing multiple jobs, something has to take priority. And then when they try to demand priority, and then they can't complain because other stuff isn't. Yeah.
Yeah, they got me an intern, and he went off the deep end, and he I don't know what exactly happened. He was in a wreck for one thing, and he had to go to a doctor. Then he had a follow-up visit. The next thing I know, I hadn't seen him in 2 weeks, so I contacted his teacher and asked him, hey, what's going on? I mean, he didn't tell me bye, kiss my rear end or nothing. I mean, he's just gone. So I got in touch with him, tracked him back down. So he came back. I'm on vacation next week. I'm gonna be hunting in the morning. Hopefully I'm gonna be hunting all next week. So I hope to have some. I don't know if I can film any kill shots or anything like that, but I hope to have some hunting videos up. And I'm gonna try to be using my 35, except for when I'm out on the field where I've got 400 and 500-yard shots. I'll be taking my Seiko 270 out on those days. I love that round. I love that rifle. It's got a hair trigger on it, man. I mean, you breathe on that sucker and it goes off. So I enjoy that rifle. Got it from a friend of mine. He gave me a really good deal on it, and I found out it was a Seiko. So, nicest rifle I've got as far as value. I mean, it's not the most beautiful rifle I've got, but as far as a machine built to do what it's supposed to do, that's a nice gun.
That's funny how you say a machine built to do what it does. How much I think that when I was younger, I valued like the aesthetics of things so much more. And now that I'm a little bit older, it's like if something is 100% functional, I value that over anything else. I wanted to give a shout out here real quick, guys. There is the Crazy Scotsman posted a link to help out with Ed USAS family if you feel inclined. Please take a look at that. I don't think I can pin it, or I would, but I wanted to give out that. And I see a new person here that I haven't talked to before. Lever Guns 50 110 WCF. Glad to see you, brother. Glad you can make it to the chat. The proof positive on that for me right now is like those like late 70s, early 80s Chevrolet pickups. I had one as a kid. I hated that thing. Now I want one again. Like, because it's a truck. That's what it does. Like,
I have one.
I really wouldn't mind getting my hands back on a regular cab short bed, you know, that model of truck.
Mine's for sale cheap. Come on up. We'll talk.
Really?
I've got a 77 C10 short bed, 305, 3 feet on the tree.
You're talking about you. What do you know? That's my brand.
I love that truck. Man, I'm telling you what's the truth. That thing would. Man, I don't know how to describe it. There's not a panel on the thing that's not got a rust hole through it.
That's good. Then that's definitely good.
I have no trouble bouncing through the woods, picking up deer in that thing. Haul garbage to the dump, go cut firewood. I mean, it just pulls it back home. And I'm gonna get these Dodge and Ford guys yelling at me, but I tell you what, man, that's a cool old truck. It's ugly as homemade sin. It's green, trimmed in gold. Looks like a Oakland Athletic. You remember that color scheme?
I do.
Remember those rails they had down the side of them that were flat on the side that had the gold color in them, and then the trim down the side had the gold trim?
Yes, sir.
I took all that trim down the side of the truck off.
I had mine was a 79 and it was a long bed. And it was a chicken. It was actually first it was a state or a city truck, so it was painted bright yellow. Then a chicken farmer got a hold of it and painted it with a roller with some like gray house paint. And because it was a chicken farmer's truck rolling around in chicken crap all the time, rust doesn't even like begin to explain the situation. And what's funny is I look at it now, right? And when I was a kid, so let's say about 1995 or so, I was thinking, I was 16. I'm like, this thing's really rusted out, but it's an old truck. It wasn't that old, man. I look at like trucks now that are 2000 models, 18 years old, and I'm like, there's no rust there. But that old Chevy, boy, that thing picked up every bit of rust in the world. If you locked the keys in it, you just pulled the door skin back, reached your hand up in and unlocked it. Wasn't a floorboard left in it. It was pretty bad.
I love my old truck though. Okay, lever gun 5110 WCF. I bet y'all know what WCF stands for, don't you?
Winchester Centerfire.
And Armament and Axis has a question for the panel. What's the best shooting firearm you ever owned?
Yeah, the best shooting firearm I've ever owned.
Is best shooting, does that mean most accurate, that you could shoot best? You could hit your target more often than the rest of them? That's what I think it would mean.
Well, I have two entries. One is rifle, one is handgun, because I
was just gonna say that.
I can't compare. Like, my Kimber is the most accurate handgun I have, but it certainly doesn't shoot, one MOA, right? So I'd say the Kimber for my handgun, and most likely my Schmidt Rubin for rifles.
I'll say I'll have to do two entries too because it's just right. But as much as people will probably give me crap about this, I'll tell you, man, I've got a 1022 Ruger, and that's small caliber, and I love that thing. I mean, like where I aim and point and put my scope, or even the iron sights on it, it hits 100 yards, even further. And I love that thing because, especially if I take somebody a newer shooter, it's easy for them to shoot that compared to my AR or something like that. So I like that 1022 Ruger. And y'all probably gonna know my pistol choice is definitely gonna be my CZ at this time until I get something else. I've got some Glocks, different calibers, and I've got a car 9mm, but this CZ is something about the way it's designed. It shoots awesome to me. So that's my entry. Sorry, that was kind of drawn out, but yeah,
That was a song, wasn't it? Something in the
it
way
was.
she moves. So you going to answer, or you want me to answer, Nathan?
Oh, you go. Go ahead, our boss.
Most accurate. Oh yeah.
Part of that's going to require I can't say it. Being used to your weapon, one you're used to, knowing where to aim to hit what you're talking about. So, in that respect, of course, my 35 Remington pretty much goes where I want it to go because I know where to put it to do it. But the Seiko AV, model AV in Chamberlain 270. Okay, look, I don't think you can argue with this. I've shot it in the woods 6 times and it's brought 5 deer home. The one time that it didn't was because I stood up in my stand and hit a tree limb hanging about 4 feet down in front of my stand. That was not the gun's fault. That was operator error. So, yeah, and small bore, like Chico was talking about, I have a Marlin Model 60 that is dead nuts. I mean, at 50 yards, dude, I can stack them on top of each other. But I'm not real great with handguns, so I would have to say my 586 is. I didn't grow up shooting handguns, pistols. I always was a rifle guy, and you can tell by my shooting. I just shoot. Yeah, A&A said his most accurate handgun was a Taurus 357 Magnum. My 586 is probably my most accurate handgun. Looks like we got fresh blood up in here.
Oh,
Yeah, a little crooked, but it's there. Glad to see it, as always.
Me,
there.
Now, the most accurate handgun shooting I've ever done was my dad's Ruger Red Hawk. 44 mag with some full house type rounds. I've shot with that gun better than I've ever shot with anything ever. Going all the way out to like 50 yards, open sighted and clover leafing, without even thinking about it. But I don't own it, so I can't include that one. There's some really cool, interesting guns out here. Super Blackhawk for JCM 45. That's interesting, man, because just because of that trigger guard, I don't think that I could do that with one of those things.
I'm sorry. What is a Marlin Model 25? I thought I knew all of Marlin stuff.
I know that. I know that number, Jamie. I just can't picture what it correlates to.
Would that be a lever action 22, maybe? MCK, tell us what a Model 25 is, brother.
It's a bolt action 22 is what it is.
Is it?
Yeah. I think it's basically off the I think it's pretty much so just about. Let me see a picture here.
Bolt action, he said.
Yeah, I'm looking because I got a half of mine that it's pretty much so about the same as. Nope, it's got a little clip underneath of it. Okay, it's a little bit different than. I've got an old
clip or a magazine.
It looks like a clip. That's why I said it's a clip. That's why I said clip.
Okay.
It looks like it actually comes out.
I'm messing with you.
No, that's all right. No, that's cute. No, go ahead.
I was actually hoping to throw in the got him.
Yeah, yeah, that's a little bit different. I've got an old little 22, that it wasn't that accurate, but I've seen some of those people with, those 22s that out to 100 yards, wherever the crosshairs of that scope are, it makes a hole. And those things are crazy to me.
Yeah, I love my little 22. I want to get more of them. I was reading that Ruger that they have like the most aftermarket accessories for that 1022 out of all other rifles. And I was reading that could be, but I kind of understand it because they've been around for years. So but I love mine. It's good to shoot when I don't want to waste a lot of big ammo. Ammo's cheap. I enjoy it.
I'm gonna get me one of those Eagle Eye. He's talking about his best shooting handgun's a Colt Gold Cup 1911.
I want to get a Colt 1911 and 38 Super. Bad, but not bad enough to actually spend the money on it right now.
Colt makes a lot of their stuff.
Yeah. Armin X says he's got his, I think he said his partner / brother just started reloading. So a new person into the mix. That's terrific, man. It's good news always to bring in new people. Sorry, Jamie. I didn't mean to step on you, brother. I'm sorry.
You know, my bad. I didn't know. I was just trying to catch up. A few. Why don't we take a minute and let Kyle intro?
Hi.
Hi.
Do I have to go a whole minute? I mean,
Yes, sir. Actually, because you got minutes to make up because you weren't able to be with us last week, so the chat room just missed you to pieces. There was actually people weeping. Like, where's Kyle?
I'm almost positive that that's the case. Yeah, last weekend it was a wild ride, that's for sure. Wasn't trying to blow anybody off, but I had crazy people show up, so had to take care of that. This weekend's been a domestically wild ride. I think I got all that sorted out and situated, but I'm here now, and Jamie singing the Beatles kind of drew me in.
You didn't know I couldn't sing, did you?
Well, how are y'all tonight? Sorry I'm late.
Oh man, no worries. I'm doing pretty daggum good. It's Friday, and like Jamie says, it's good to be able to get together and decompress a little bit for sure.
Thanks, JCM. I appreciate
that. For those of you guys in the chat room that didn't know, and I'm not sure Nathan knew either, I posted 2 videos up lately. One of them was us shooting with the Scotsman, me, Kyle, and Chico. Let me tell y'all something. Chico is a beast with a AR-15. I'm telling you. He called it his trunk monk. I'm like, now if I said that, I'd get in trouble, but that's okay.
No, Jamie, have you never seen those Trunk Monkey videos?
No.
Oh man, man, get on YouTube and just put in Trunk Monkey and hit search. Yeah. Man, that's some of the funniest stuff you've ever seen in your life.
I gotta try that.
Yeah, that's a popular name for it. And I'm not gun crazy, but I am. But that's something that rides with me. I always have my side on, but that's something if that's just something that's backup. That's really backup.
But it's got to be a female truck monkey, though, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's
a bad bitch.
Yeah. She's nice,
man.
I like it though, man. And you know what? Whenever we get a chance, I've got an interesting / topic that I want to discuss a little bit. I want to inquire about some stuff, and I've read on it, but I know I can get a lot of information from you guys and the guys in the side chat. It's probably gonna blow the side chat up.
That's always good. We're still going with a little bit with the most accurate guns, but man, that's awesome. It's always good to have an idea or a chat or something interesting to jaw about for sure. Kyle, I wanted to mention that you did a little bit with on Uncle Jim's chat as well, didn't you? It went on Halloween night.
Yeah, that was we popped on there for a little bit, and everybody said, "Hey." Of course, none of us were doctored up or dressed up. We just looked like ourselves, which is scary enough. Then the crazy Scotsman was like, "I want to smell some lead." I'm like, "Okay, we'll do that in the morning." He goes, "Hell no! Get your ass on the back deck and show me how this is done." So we were up till about 3 a.m. smelting lead. It was fun.
That's one way to do that for sure. That makes for an interesting night. So, guys, if you haven't, I'm pretty sure that that's on Uncle Jim's channel. So if you wanted to take a look at that to find out exactly why it was that Kyle wasn't here with us later in the evening on that Friday, is that he had some visitors. So I wanted to give a quick shout out. We got Vanessa Kitty in the side chat. She's almost there every week, and I really appreciate it. One of these weeks we need to see if we can get you on, even if you just want to do voice. I know there's a couple people that want to do that. That'd be great. Bigger behind the trigger. Glad to see you, brother. JCM 45, the man with the golden voice. Armament Axes, another one we need to get back on here. We've tried once. We need to try again. Eagle Eye Shooting, brother, I appreciate you coming out. Lever Action 5110 WCF. MCK, glad to see you. Eddie B, good you make it, bud. Crazy Scotsman, of course. Ocean 374, appreciate you coming out. Thomas Pickering, back in and out for us. And I think I mentioned Bigger Behind the Trigger is out there as well. And I think that's going to kind of get us for now. But guys, I appreciate everybody coming out in the side chat. Coming out and watching this. I tell you, I really appreciate it. We've got right now we've got 21 viewers on, and I appreciate all 21 of you showing up. And Jamie Howe just rejoined, so I guess he relogged, which is good. So Chico, what do you want to talk about, brother?
What I want to throw out here is
my computer.
I'm contemplating how to get the correct base on my bullets when I'm casting, because I've noticed some of my bullet bases have the little divots. Yeah, if y'all familiar with what I'm talking about.
Yeah. If they're not, I can show you here in just a second.
Right, I got some. I should have brought them in here with me. But for instance, I was on, and I just found out about this guy's channel. He's part of the Reloaders Network, 10 Man. I was watching his video, and I went ahead and subscribed to him because I was like, he's a reloader. He's part of Reloaders Network. I try to support everybody and be just like the lever guns 6110 the WCF, like, but on 10 Man's video, he was talking about his bullets, and I was like, I got the same problem. You know what I mean? I was like, I got the same problem, and I've read on it. I've got my casting book open right now, and I just figured asking that question, or how do you guys remedy that would probably be a little quicker than
are you getting
something I can try.
Are you getting divots or little bitty small raised areas in the middle?
I'm not getting any raised areas.
You actually getting divots?
Yeah, just like, it's very slight.
Yeah,
I was reading that sometimes it could be my sprue plate could be too tight. And I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna loosen it up a little bit so that air can get up on it from what I was reading in my book. So I was like, let me get out here and ask all these experts in the
Chico,
side chat.
Does your sprue plate swing freely?
It does.
Then it's not too tight.
What?
If it's too tight, then it's going to be hard to swing open, or you can feel it rubbing on the top of the mold. The only air that you should get it's like the I don't know what kind of mold you have, but if you have like a Lee mold, a new one, and you open it up and you see these little scribe marks, those are vents. It takes very, very little air to vent. So
okay,
don't worry about that. What I would take it as is you're probably cutting too early.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. Either pouring too slow or not leaving enough sprue or cutting it off too early.
What I do when I pour is I watch my sprue. It'll go, it'll harden, and then it'll flash like a gray. And as soon as it flashes gray, I can cut. And I don't get divots. I do get like I'm going to say it's a small raised area, but it's not even a raised area. It's just a ring that looks like it.
Right. Okay.
Looks like this.
Yep.
I thought that's what you were talking about, and I was like, brother, that's normal.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to get. But that's what I would do, man. If I was having a problem where I was ripping out a divot, I was either there's other possibilities as well.
Right.
And one of them would be that your melt's too cold, and that's an odd one, but it can happen. But you'll end up with wrinkles and all kinds of other problems as well. So
Okay.
if
look at what Bacon said. It falls right in line with what we've been saying.
Yep, just waiting just a little bit longer before you cut your sprue. Don't dick around with your sprue either, right? Some people like to try to do it with their hands. I typically don't. I use a hammer handle or a sprue whacker. I mean, you're a fancy guy, so I'm sure you've got one of those fancy sprue whackers.
I don't. Well, actually, see, mine is a 6-cavity mold. I'm gonna go ahead and grab it in a second. And it's got, so all I do is pull the handle. I don't have to hit it or nothing, if that makes sense.
Okay, so you've got a Lee 6-cavity.
Yes.
Bust the sprue like vigorously. Don't just kind of pull it. Kind of snap it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that it's relatively quick. Because if you do it slow, it'll like cut the first one real easy, and then the second one okay, and then the third, fourth one you'll start to actually tear them. Because it's basically putting pressure against it, but not cutting, and it's just kind of a slow process, and you'll pull them.
Because so fast and quick.
Yeah, just kind of hit it kind of quick so that you crack them, and I think you'll be all right. Wait until that sprue color goes dull gray, and then cut them. That'd be my.
Chico. Go ahead, Nathan. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that's my 2 cents for whatever that's worth, which isn't much.
Always helps.
Chico, did you see my little mold mallet that was on the table by my casting pot?
I did.
You know what that is? That's not one of them high dollar mold mallets. It's an $8 leather hammer. It's a leather mallet for doing leather work. Thorzak's turned me on to that. He goes, before you go out and
can I use that with a 6-cavity mold?
Well, to get them out if you need to.
Gotcha. I see.
Eventually, you're going to need to tap the center screw to get some out. But I was having problems, and then Uncle Jim was making fun of me for using a wire brush handle. And Thorzak's got with me, and he goes, man, before you do all this, you might want to check this out. It's an $8 version of the $20 thing, you know, and it was $8 on Amazon. I know you're always a deal seeker.
I am. You know what? And since you guys asking that, I see a question that Vanessa Kitty asking. Must the sprue plate be sharpened? I believe that answer is no.
Mm-mm.
I don't think it could be sharpened based on the.
It could be, but I wouldn't do it.
No, that'll throw off all kinds of angles and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, technically, you could take and get a stone in there and polish from the top. Don't polish the bottom, and sharpen it. But I wouldn't mess with it. I've never seen one get bad, and I've seen molds that have been used heavily. I mean, probably some of the molds that Fuzz has used, you know, they got a billion bullets through them. You know, I've got something my dad's had for 1,000 years. It seems like I wouldn't do it, but I can see how that would be an idea. I just don't think I would try it.
Yeah, I kind of figure I was like, you know what, maybe I need to let it cool some. So I'll definitely do that, and I'll start trying to do it a lot quicker. But sometimes I'll get it, and sometimes I won't. And I was like, that going in the reject pile, because you know it'd be different if all of them was coming out like that. I'd be like, oh, that's how it's supposed to be. But when I get some that's like, I'm like, that's perfect. Look at that. And the next one, almost like the tear. What you're saying, it almost kind of.
That's what's happening. Next time it happens, before you drop the bullets, just tear the sprue off and look at the bullets. See if it's not the farthest ones. Which I don't know how you cast.
Fast, real fast.
Well, I mean, I go all the way in and then go boop boop boop.
Yeah,
boop,
I come
boop,
all the way out.
Okay, so the last one that you cast is the farthest one on the mold, right?
Correct. I think I did it both ways to see which one worked better for me, because I've seen people doing it both ways.
That's exactly what's happening. As soon as the sprue hardens on this first one, because that's closest to you, that's what you're looking at. When you open that sprue plate, it's pulling the center out because it's not fully cooled yet.
And you've got the mold geometry working against you, because the one closest to the pivot for the sprue point or the sprue plate gets the least amount of movement per movement on the back, right? So it just barely starts to move. So you'll start pulling it out just because it's there. You might want to go backwards because that's. I mean, I don't know. That's how I do it. Is the last?
So I should go the furthest one away from me first.
That's the way I do it. I do it this one first, and then I feed mine in and I pull it out. But that's just out of habit, man. That's just purely out of habit. I don't think it needs to be either way. Just make sure that all of them are
both ways.
Heard it both ways. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've tried it both ways to see which one felt more natural to me. I have to watch one of my reruns.
Armin Axis says that
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Armin Axis says that people don't understand how much thought and science go into casting. Absolutely. There is kind of
you want to get a calculus lesson.
Yeah, there's kind of an art form to it. I don't know as if there's that much thought, but too often I'm just like, pour molten metal. But you know. You know what's funny? And I was going to say, I almost forgot it. Nowadays, between Lee, Lyman, RCBS, NOE, Accurate, nobody makes molds anymore that are inherently wrong. I have seen older molds, like the hole is like too small or it's too big, where the leg goes in, so it like acts stupid. And I've seen old designs for molds that were just bad, and you don't see that much anymore. Like I haven't heard of anybody just making bad molds. Lyman makes molds too small. That's my opinion. But other than that, that's a big benefit, man. It's like every mold you get should work. The old Lee molds kind of, the new ones, right on.
Another thing about casting is, especially if you're using different brands of molds, which I am now. I wasn't, but I found that different brands you have to treat differently. You may need to run some hotter than others. You may need to let them cool longer. You may need to cut them when they're hotter. It's all about playing around with it. And once you just pay attention to what you're doing, and once they start popping out beautiful bases,
stay like that.
Just mimic that.
Yep. Right. One of the other timing wise, here's something that'll mess with you. Some sprue plates are aluminum, some are steel. So they're gonna pull heat at different speeds.
All right. Yeah.
So just you gotta play with it and figure it. But yeah, if you got the did you get the Lyman cast bullet handbook? Yeah.
Yes, I got it. That's what I was just reading about. Well, that's what I've been reading about the bullet, and it's good information in there. Like I said, I've read on it, and probably this weekend I'm gonna try some different stuff, some different ways. But I was like, you know what? Let me throw this kind of topic out, because I know it's people in the side chat that joins our chats every week, and there's a lot of information and knowledge out there. So
Vanessa seems to believe that mathematics is an art form. That's entirely possible because I think that it is talent that does math, because it ain't me.
I got something to add to that. I'm sorry I got interrupted. My daughter called and my preacher called. So when those two call, you got to go take it. But you got to keep your mold cool enough, Chico, that you're puddling up on the top of the sprue plate. If you're not getting a puddle up there, it's too hot and it's not going to fill in. It's going to fill in good, but it won't fill in good because there's nothing. Once it starts cooling, there's no suction to pull that down in there because it's too thin. It's already ran away. It's already rolled away. Y'all understand what I'm saying? And particularly with Lee molds, like Nathan was talking about, they're so small. And about as far as sharpening that sprue plate, most of mine are steel. Even the aluminum ones are harder than lead, so that you never should have a need to sharpen one unless you're just casting an awful lot of really hard bullets with a lot of antimony and tin and stuff like that in there.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, I guess if you're running straight up linotype, maybe it would happen.
Right. But what I do, Chico, is I keep a sponge by my lead pot off to the side. And when I'm casting and the mold gets so hot that the lead is not pooling on top of the sprue plate, it's just all running off and it looks like water. It's as thin as water on the top. Take that sprue plate and take your mold and just turn it over. Put the sprue plate on the sponge and let it cool. It'll smoke and hiss and all that. Just leave it on there for just a few seconds. And
I'm
then
glad you said that.
if you have to, you can open the sprue plate and put the inside down on there too. But you don't want to overdo it because you're trying to stay in that zone to where everything's filling out and cool that sprue plate off a little bit, and then start letting it sit, slow down. In other words,
Right.
Count instead of counting to 5 before you cut the sprue plate, count to 10 or 7 or whatever.
Yeah, that's some really good information because that is very true. Like I have some steel molds as well, and they run hotter than the aluminum do. So if you're not, you got to keep a relatively, I'm not gonna say a slow cadence, but comparatively speaking to some of my aluminum molds. Then the other thing you got to deal with that I think is really interesting and where it really kind of mixes you up is your bullet size will have a big impact on how fast your mold will heat up and how fast it'll cool off.
Exactly.
Because if you have big bullets, like I do a lot of 45, 44, 41, big bullets, it ends up with like it's a lot of lead in a smaller amount of aluminum or steel, and it heats up faster, but then it cools off quick too. So you have to learn how to kind of
balance
it and tell what your mold is telling you, right? Some people get big with running thermometers and everything, and I just don't. I'm too, I don't know what it is, too bullheaded. But if I'm, like Jamie said, if I have a problem where I can't pour a circular good sprue on the top, if it wants to run off or wants to turn, and my melt is a good temp, and it's wanting to run off, my mold's too hot. I usually catch it well before then. I can just tell because it's taken too long for it to harden up. Like if I go 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and it's still liquid, I'm like, yeah, my mold's probably too hot.
Yeah, I'm glad Jamie said that about the sprue was if it was like water, because I noticed that. I was like, hey, hold up, my first time went like this. I was like, hold up, I had perfect sprues and everything. And so what I did, I started little by little turning my temperature down because I'm thinking it's my lead. All right. So I really didn't think about maybe it was my mold, right?
It's your speed more than anything. And
that or his mixture. He's got a point. His mixture may be way too hot.
Right. Now this was some new mix that I got. Some of these Dirty South wheel weights, right? So I was like, let me throw these in here, and I was doing it at night, so it was cool. But I was like, you know what? That's coming out pretty liquid, like he said, water. I was like, hold up. So I started notching it down, and then the mechanic in me started thinking, you know what? This pot just started breaking in because it's only the second time using the pot. So I was like, maybe the temperature is definitely, because I had it set where I had it set the first time. So then I noticed, I was like, it's a little bit too runny. Let me turn my pot down a little bit. So
if you look to the left of my pot, I don't even know if you've even paid that much attention. To the left of my pot is a folded, one of them blue paper shop towels, that come on the roll.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I've got it folded up it's about that big, about the size of a mold. Well, I'll take it and just dip it in the quench bucket, just sit it right there. And I'll start noticing that the mold's getting too hot. I just set the base of the mold on it. And it seems like that sucks enough heat. But Jamie made a really good point. I never thought about the mold just being up to temp and the sprue plate being too hot.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty
the
good.
mold's
That's pretty good
aluminum.
thinking right there, Jamie. Hats off, man.
Yeah, on mine.
But you don't want to
aluminum.
You don't want to quench that sprue plate.
No, you don't want to stick it down in water. You just want to rub it.
No, you'll twist that thing to pieces.
Right.
Oh,
You just
right,
want-
right. Yeah. But what Jamie's saying is take the mold, turn it over, and touch it on the sponge.
Yeah, like this. Just
Yeah.
like this is a
Yeah.
sponge. Just let me. What I call it is my cavity to block ratio with a mold. Now, if you this right here is the Lee. This is a lot of us guys out there really like this for 38 and 357. This is the Lee 358-158, and I want you to look at right here where the handles attach. Right below that, the mold steps in. You see how it steps in right there?
Mhm.
Well, that
That's
and
not going to be the hot spot.
well, to me, it's taking a lot of the weight off of the mold, but at the same time, it's a lot of that weight holds heat too, in my mind. And then you get a mold like this one, which y'all can see is substantially bigger. But what we got here is a 311 165 grain round flat. And you can see the cavities are not as big around, but they're longer. They're deeper down into the block. But that block is squared off. It's just got the channels for the handles cut
It's
out.
got
And
more surface area for that heat to be distributed.
what's more
Maybe
matter. More
more mass. Yeah.
it's more it, well, it's just bigger. It's just more of
Bigger.
the
Yeah.
mold. And so you've got more metal here, and you've got a I think by and large the cavity size, if Miss Kitty would do the math for us, would it be about the same as far as how much of the metal is gone from this block. But if you've got a big mold with little bitty cavities, it's hard to get that thing up to casting temperature. It's going to be harder to get it to where it's going to fill completely in.
Like the 55 grain AR bullet.
That's exactly the one I was talking about. That thing is dang near impossible to get to where it's going to cast some decent bullets.
You got to be listening to some Anthrax or some Megadeth while you're casting with that thing.
Well, one of the things you'll notice a lot of guys have, a lot of guys are talking about in the chat is that they'll, and I'm not necessarily recommending this, but they'll cast 2 molds at one time. They'll be running 2 molds at one time, and they have a heater. So if you've got something like that, I've got a 32 H&R, a 32 bullet. It's like 98 grains in an iron mold, and that thing is murder. It's like it takes forever. It's like you want to dunk it in the lead. Just throw it in there and just let it warm up forever. But the thing with you got to remember is your different molds have to be treated differently. Like aluminum, I kind of stopped quenching aluminum molds because one, the Lee molds, if you quench them, there's a possibility and it's a fair possibility you'll start knocking the pins out of them. And some of the other aluminum, I don't think you're going to run into a problem with NOE, but some of them, you might twist them. So I just stopped. Like if I'm running too hot, I just slow down.
Yeah, I've never put a hot mold in a bucket of water. Hell no.
Well, even just quenching with rags, I stopped doing that.
Oh, okay, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, I went because I used to do that all the time, and I just stopped because I was running into problems with my 2 cavity Lee molds that had the old style pins. It started wiggling. The pins started coming loose out.
Yeah, once I realized that I need to start quenching the mold, that's about the time I think it was it Loads of Bacon or Full Lead Taco that said they like to run 2 molds. That way they
Taco does that
at full speed.
Armin Axis said he runs 3 at once. I've run 2 at once, but
I started doing that, especially if I'm casting bigger bore bullets like 44s or 45 and a Lee 6 cavity or something like that. I'll run 2, and about the time it takes for you to cast and sit this one over here, this one's actually the sprues cooled off and the mold's cooled off, and but then you start getting frosted bullets, or it takes a long time for the sprue. Just slow down a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I've been doing. Once I figured out I had to quench it, it's time to slow down just
Yeah.
a little.
That's what I ran into because what Jamie said is absolutely true. If you quench, and this is what I was seeing, especially with my 6-cavity molds, if I quenched on a wet rag, like my Lee mold, it would cool off the base of it relatively well. My top would still be hot, and my sprue plate would be a damn heat sink.
Right.
And so that wasn't doing anything. So then I'd have 1 or 2 bad throws after I quenched. And it was easier for me to just start slowing down. Eagle Eye asked a question about quenching bullets and whether or not that had an effect depending on the temperature and all that stuff. And Bacon said it best, man. Go watch the entire TATV series on quenching bullets, because that he goes. I mean, I think he goes for a full year experiment on how long like water quenching changes and all that other stuff. Man, it's really really good. And there is a point of diminishing returns for show.
You've been called out, sir.
Which one?
You.
Oh, I'm trying to find it.
No, it wasn't you.
Who?
No, it's Georgia boy. Georgia boy, you have been called out.
Oh.
I'm sorry. It took me a second.
Like, what the heck are you talking about, brother? I don't see nothing. I've been trying to read everything.
Never mind. He knows who he's talking about.
Well, Mr. Bacon said he adjusts the temp on his pot with his PID controller, and he doesn't have to worry about cooling his molds off. And that's a good point if you got a PID, which I do not. But with my Lee 420 pot, it seems like that once you get it set to the proper temperature on that dial up there, that it'll hold that temperature pretty well until, like most guys say, till you start getting down to the lower 1/3 of the pot.
Got the Magnum channel business here. As somebody I subbed you, I think some time ago. I don't know, maybe about a year ago. Glad to see you, brother. And not a caster, so sorry it's not too pointed on yours type stuff, but sometimes we'll get back around to it. Chico, say something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I need to be saying something when I'm holding. Can y'all see that divot in that one? I know my focus is terrible sometimes. But I've got, like I said, I got one that's perfect. That one is perfect to me. But that one right there has that small divot in it. It's kind of, and I was like, I don't know. So
yeah, wait a second. The center of the bullet hasn't cooled, and when you cut the sprue, it's ripping it out of it.
Okay.
That's what's happening. Just slow down.
This one is like perfect to me. I don't know if y'all, it's hard to see. I'm sorry, guys. But compared to that one, I was like, yeah. And it doesn't happen.
I mean, both of them will shoot fine. I wouldn't call them rejects. Just slow down a little bit. And I'm not the know-all, be-all on this stuff, because Loads of Bacon and Full Lead Taco had to really talk me through some problems with casting hollow points. What are you doing? You getting all the bullets that you thought was rejects and putting them back in the other pot?
No, I was just, I just was, I had a lot of bullets. It was one of those nights that I was feeling it, I mean, you guys know with anything. One night I was like, you know what? I got to get out here and cast. It's calling me, so it's a bad habit.
Yeah.
It's like Smelton was calling Scotsman, and he ain't never even done it before.
Yeah, Loads of Bacon.
We're going to do this.
Loads of Bacon. I'm in the exact same thing. I started off with a 10-pound pouring, 10-pound ladle, and then now I'm at the 20-pound bottom pour. To me, Chico, this is my opinion, those ones with the divots are rejects. Melt them. Because divoted bases don't act right. They don't fly right, and you have a better chance of leading them for whatever reason. I don't exactly understand the science behind that, but I've seen the ones with the divoted bases tend to lead, and I don't get it. So I'd reject them. I might not have had any problems with them, but I've had issues. I'd reject.
And then I say divots, and it's almost like just like I can understand when y'all saying the tear. It's almost like a crater.
Yeah.
Sort of, but I don't want to say like a crater, like it's a crater, but it's almost like 2-3 thousandths of an inch.
Yeah, it just tore the very center of the bullet out because it wasn't fully cooled.
And I'll also bet they are towards that end of that where that pivot is. If you were to actually look at every one you break and look, they'll be like the last two.
Depending on which way he has,
Yeah, because some of them are perfect. Like the bases, some of the bases are perfect. It looks, I think it's okay. This is only like my second time casting. So, but some of them have those slight little crater or I know that one probably will show up real good for you guys. So hopefully it will. So I'm still a rookie.
That's a crater, Chico.
Yeah. See, I'm still in rookie mode, guys. Side chat, I'm still in rookie mode. So
Eagle Eye says he's going to fire all this casting talk. He's going to fire up his pot. That's perfectly fine, but you have to go get in the Eagle outfit to be able to cast during a live stream.
Yeah.
Oh, hell. Send him a link.
Yeah, Load says he would shoot all of them. The handgun targets won't care. I guess my problem is I'm too nitnoid when it comes to handgun shooting. Like, there's a lot of people that just aren't. Like, I'm one of those dudes that every time I go out there, it's like I'm practicing like for the Olympics or something. I want to get perfect like every time. It's ridiculous. It's my own fault. Like guys that go up there and just like boom, 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 empty a clip, or and I'm just shoot slow and it's ridiculous.
Not a word, Jamie.
There's always fun like shooting steel, right? Shooting steel, I would shoot steel with those probably, especially at 15 yards all day long. Never even think anything about it. But if I'm gonna shoot targets, nah. Like
we were shooting paper targets at like what 15 yards, 12, 15, maybe 18 yards, and I blow through. Was it Scotsman CZ? I think it was, or your CZ, or maybe both. And Jamie goes, "I love the way Kyle takes his time and aim." And all of them were in a hole about that big. I was like, man, this thing shoots good. Maybe not that tight, but it wasn't.
Yeah, my understanding though, Kyle, is that like you're superhuman. You can shoot better than because I can't do that. Now, if I take my time,
I would never say that. No, I'm not Jerry Mitchellak. No.
If I take my time. Most of my handguns, if I take my time at 15 yards, I can put them in a quarter, most of them. But I have to take my time. If I go quick, I open up to 2 inches quick.
Yeah.
But but then again, I don't feel bad about that because I've never seen anybody at my range that can actually do better. That's just my range, but man, it's just like I see guys down there that are taking their time and they're minute a pie plate at 15 yards. And I'm like,
minute of squirrel.
Yeah, a minute of cardboard backer. But man, I am just, and it comes from that's what I've done a lot of the past like 10 years is target shooting with handguns and being real slow. I'll bench a lot of times when I'm doing like load development. So that's why I guess for me, I'm like, go ahead and reject them and recast. It's easier. Then I know they're not a problem. But I don't know, man. It's to each their own. Now I've gotten to where I'm shooting at 25 yards and 50 yards and stuff like that with handguns. Now it's really getting that's ass. Now I'm getting out of hand with it. It's getting stupid. Like I'm actually I'm balancing all my bullets and it's ridiculous.
Hey Kenny, if you'd like, I can text you a video where you'll probably be a little impressed by what you just said.
The guy's trigger finger has a built-in bump stock. Nice.
I can overrun a bolt. It's amazing. I'm not married.
Your ability to be able to double click the mouse is legendary.
Oh crap! Unheard of.
Oh boy, yeah. There's a heck no, Fuzzy. I'm not no daggum John Wick. One, I I never have anything strapped to me. Like my guns, I don't have anything even with a daggum sling on it. I'm Mr. Non-tactical. Like I remember back in the day when this first started, that whole tactical thing, I'd leave the range. Somebody showed up with a tactical shotgun, I'd pack my shit up and go.
I gotta go.
Those people were nuts, man. Like, I mean, they were coming, they had no idea what they were doing. And they'd show up to the range and they were like, they were the kind of idiots that would take like of course it was a Glock and throw stuff up in the air and start shooting it at a range. Like, what are you doing? I'm going to the house. But now it's gotten a lot better, but I'm still not Mr. Tactical. Like I'm not tactical at all. And I'm not that good of a shot, I guess. Not comparatively speaking to my brother Kyle over here.
No. I'm not, by no means a designated marksman.
Anybody that can shoot the edge of a dime while half drunk at 400 yards, that's pretty marksmanish, man.
The edge of a dime and half drunk.
Oh, man. We got a lot of people out. Jose Spirit, we're glad you can make it. Who else we got here? Loads of bacon. You know what? We got 24 viewers. I'm going to give another shout out here. Guys, if you haven't looked at the reloadersnetwork.com, I know I don't want to sound like a commercial, but go give it a shot. Take a look at that site. It's a heck of a good resource for not just reloading information, but casting, shooting, gun type stuff. Everything is kind of there and it has its own space. Everything's got like, you know, if you want to look for a specific thing, you can find a category that fits you, or you can go by author or whatever. And you got articles, you got videos, you got pictures, you got all kinds of stuff. Go check it out. And you can probably go from there and get us on Slack if that's something that you're interested in doing. So go take a look, thereloadersnetwork.com.
And all of the panel is on there also.
Yeah, every one of us are on there. Yeah. James Pollard, Ocean 374. Glad you can make it, brother. Eagle Eye. That's another one of those, man. If you guys did not see the Uncle Jim chat from last Saturday, go take a look, man. That is just the hilarity was impressive. Like I go to bed early, right? And Uncle Jim made fun of me the whole night because I was hanging out. Like he's like, I expect Nathan to go to bed because I always go to bed early. But no, I hung all night for that. That was hilarious.
I'm telling you, that was one of the funniest things that I've seen on a live chat in a long time. And what made it was when Kenny showed up.
Oh, yeah. He just took everything to the next level. Things were at like level 8, and then they just shot up to like 12.
Yeah, I was gonna say 12 or 14. Yeah.
Yeah. What is a tactitard? Well, if this is that's actually the Jeopardy answer to the asshole at the range with nothing but black on. What is a tactitard?
And Velcro and Molly.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not saying anything bad. Everybody's got their own way into guns. You know, you whatever works for you is cool. But know your surroundings. Know what you're doing. Be safe. Don't be an idiot. Man, I have seen people. There was a dude down at the range. I don't know. This was this year. And he reminiscent of another guy that I saw do this. But anyway, he showed up in his full black outfit. And I live in South Georgia. You don't wear full black, like, unless you have to, right? He had on the vest and everything. I mean, he was full on as cool as he could possibly be. Got out of his Jeep, right? And he's all strapped up like he's going to war, right? Which reminds me of like Falling Down. And I'm just kind of like keeping an eye on this guy, right? And sure as all get out, you know, he pulls his AR out. We're at a pistol range, and he's shooting Full Metal Jacket bullets at the steel targets, and he has no idea really what he's doing. And then he pulls a revolver out of his pocket, shoots all 5 of those, I think, or 6 that were in there. Couldn't get it to eject. Pulls it up, opens a crane, and starts beating on the bench with the ejector rod. And I'm like, packing up my stuff. Let's go.
Yep.
That's the kind of crap. They're like, I don't get it. I don't understand. But I have seen more of that kind of behavior with that group of people that go to the range than I have just a random person that shows up that doesn't know what they're doing. Those people are usually a little bit cautious. They watch other people. They figure out what the the manners are, the etiquette, and try to no. Those guys walk in thinking they got it figured out, and it's usually, to pardon the term, a shit show.
Yeah, that's dangerous. Definitely
Yeah.
dangerous.
It's dangerous and it's ridiculous. Oh, and the other group of guys that I love, and bless their heart, are like the meatheads. I got some friends that are meatheads, man, but it's almost always a meathead, and he shows up with his 15-pound girlfriend, and he's gonna go like he'll get her to end up shooting something that she shouldn't be anywhere near touching. Like those guys, I end up having to stop them usually. I'll be like, oh, no. Like, she goes and tries to shoot like a car or something like that. She's like, "Oh, this hurts." She's like, "Oh, well, hold this revolver," and it's like a 44. I'm like, no, Bucko. But there's all kinds of weirdos at the range. How do we get on this? I'm sure I did it. Sorry about that.
No, that still makes good. Safety is my main thing. So when I'm at the range, I'm looking. If you guys seen the video that Jamie put out, that range was packed when we were there, and I made sure I was eyeballing everybody. Safety. It's crazy because the guy like to the left of us didn't even have on safety glasses. I was like, whatever. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff to watch out for.
It was weird. Like when that younger kid started doing 5-round bursts out of what?
Yeah, I heard it.
What the hell are you doing? And then Jamie wanted me to show Chico how to bump fire, and I'm like, no, not here.
Yeah.
We had a great time that Saturday, and hell, Scotsman, drive 15 hours. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Vanessa, I don't think it would be a problem if you showed up anywhere, pretty much so in black leather. I think most people would just appreciate that for what it is. Yeah, that's Magnum Channel says they don't play too many video games and think they know what they're doing. Yeah, I don't know where it's coming from, man. I don't know if it's from watching the wrong television shows or what it is, but maybe too much John Wick. I don't know. Yeah, back to casting type stuff. If we want to keep going down that road, yeah, your melt temp, right? For me, I found a melt temp that I liked. And how I want to say that is, when I say a temp, I don't know exactly what the temp is. I mean, I put a thermometer in there. I just don't remember what it was at. It's a setting on my machine, right? I have an RCBS Pro Melt 20, and I can go almost to the bottom of the pot, close to the bottom of the pot, and get a pretty consistent temperature out of that. Now, my other pot, I couldn't do that, but I have a setting that I think it's around the setting is like 7, and I'm just a little bit past there. That everything flows well. It seems to work good with 32 bullets all the way up to my 45s. I like it. So then what I do is that's my standard, and then I adjust my speed depending on which mold and which bullet and whether or not they need to work. But it took me some time because I used to cast a little too hot. And once I figured that out and cooled my temp down a little bit, I stopped having problems with my sprues running off as often and things like that. So there is like kind of a balancing act. You need to find what works for you. And then what I find is like if you find something that works pretty well, make that a standard and adjust other stuff. So
Right.
if you keep just dickering with both of them, it's like you never got it figured out.
Right.
But if you just hold one as a standard, you can. And then like I'm not that bad, but I'm sort of that bad. I'll make notes on boxes because I don't cast with them as often. So like there's some up there that have like a note in the box that's like, go fast.
700, right, or something, right?
Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. So I figured that my first casting live that had to be a fluke. It was just too good. It was like I think everything worked out good and perfect, but like I said, I did use a different alloy. And I was reading in my casting book. Anytime before I ask a question, I'm always going to research my own. And it said, like those bullets with the divots, people was like, the book was like, it's good for handgun shooting, but if it was precision, it wouldn't. It kind of automatically rejects. But I still was like, I wanted to know why I got these divots and why some of them don't. And then I didn't, like I said, when Jamie said about the lead running over like water, I was like, automatically, I was like, it's too hot. So I started notching it down and, so. I definitely appreciate the advice.
Loads of Bacon says he had an 80-year-old woman point her 22 revolver at him a couple of times. I've been in that boat. I've been in that boat a couple of times at the range. And like you said, be respectful. And I've found a lot of times with people like that are just kind of don't know, you can kind of tell them and they'll probably stick to it. But yeah, sometimes you just end up having to leave because it's the safest thing you can do. And the other one was Sean Tierney. Brother, I have been in that boat. I'm a target checker from way back. And a lot of the ranges I've shot in my life, you can't reel the target back. So it's like, I shoot 5 rounds and then I want to go check. So I've been there. And when you're shooting black powder, yeah, dude, you end up smoking everybody out, especially depending on which way the wind's blowing. And I know some indoor ranges that won't even let you shoot black powder.
Outdoor ranges that won't let you shoot black powder.
Yeah. I mean, so I've been down that road, man. Now I don't shoot a lot of black or anything, but I used to have people complain when I shot my traditional lube bullets. It was lube with Molly. I would have people complain about the stink. I'm like, it stink. Get over it. Like, All right. I don't.
You got ear protection. You got eye protection. You might as well bring some nose protection.
Yeah, or just get past it.
Like, clothespin.
Yeah, but I always tried to shoot downwind of everybody. But yeah, I've been there, man. I've been there a lot of times. Now my range has like a little reel system, so I can bring my targets back. So that always makes me feel better because otherwise I'd shoot 5 and then I'd wait. Or I'd have another gun I'd set up where I'd have like 4 different guns and I'd shoot 5 and then 5 and then 5 because I'll set up like different targets on one piece of paper. It's ridiculous, man. I've been down that road, certainly.
Yeah, that's what we were waiting on Saturday was everybody to get done doing all their blasting so we could go out there and check our targets.
Are we moving into range gripes now?
I think moves is a strong word. I think we've been there for about, I don't know, too long, probably for me.
I think we slid into the RGs a little bit ago.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's my bad. That is my bird.
The people I don't like at the range are the ones that actually do what Nathan was talking about. You got a range full up here. They shoot 1 cylinder out of their revolver and start yelling for the range to go cold so they can go get their target or go look at it. Another guy I hate at the range, hate's a strong word, but the guy at the range that I want to slap.
Don't like to see, yeah.
Is when I'm out there doing my load development and I'm shooting 5 groups of 5 at 25 or 50 or 100 yards or whatever, and somebody shoots your target.
Nobody else was shooting it.
Yeah, that does stink. That's a pretty bad one. There's a guy, like there's almost always one person on the range that tries to time you. I don't know if you guys get this, but I will. When I'm shooting and I'm like, I'm really, 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 I'm at full distance and I'm working with the 41 mag and I'm really trying to narrow down. There will be a guy down there with something that's a slightly irritating, and he'll time me and he'll wait about a microsecond before I pull the trigger and he'll be like, bang! And it's just like, because it's like my gun just went off, even though it shouldn't have gone off, but it went off. I'm like, damn it. That guy gets on my nerves. And it's not their fault. It's just, me being too particular, I guess. Yeah, KFW, glad you showed up, brother. You're going to probably meet with some resistance on the Kentucky front today, I imagine. Even though I thought that Georgia was going to lose last week, and I was wrong. That game was not how I thought that was going to go. And I do apologize to my Georgia fans. I got suckered into this whole Florida thing. That's not my normal place.
That's okay. We still love you.
There's a girl, and she likes them, and I just like, But I'm not a Georgia fan either. But I don't hate. So. Good.
I really thought highly of the loaded cap gun.
Yeah, so do I. I still do. And but I got caught up in that wave, and now I kind of regret it a little bit.
Well, There was a guy that was pretty popular around here, and he was kind of a comedian slash humorist, and he wrote a lot of articles, kind of like you, Nathan. Um, his name was Louis Grizzard, and he was a big time Georgia Bulldog fan. And they would say Georgia would lose a big game, which was very typical, particularly back then. And they they would all his friends would be saying, "Lewis, it's just a football game," and he'd say, "No, it's not. It's our way of life against their way of life, and don't forget it." But in all reality, it's just a football game, and it's something to poke fun at each other about, and the pastors getting on him. So that's good. That's good. We love our Georgia Bulldogs around here. We're glad we got Kirby Smart to come home. I hope he's going to be very successful for a long, long time. I hope he's even more successful than Vince Dooley was.
Yeah. Hey, man, being successful, it's not a zero-sum game, right? I mean, when you get to a championship game, that's one thing. But during the year, it's not a zero-sum game, It can all be
this
fun.
one is this. The winner of this game gets to go to the SEC championship.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I watched a little bit of that Kentucky game, and it was not pretty. That was not a pretty game.
Who were they playing last week?
St. Mary's School of the Blind, I think.
Oh, it was South Carolina, wasn't it?
No, I don't think it was. Was it?
I've been to sleep since then.
Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that terrible?
JCM, don't be talking about poor John Gruden. I lost a lot of respect for him when he sat there on Monday Night Football and said, I am the best looking coach in the NFL.
Nice.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be right.
Yeah.
And they were playing Missouri, and that game, I have been to high school games that looked more professional than that. Like, it did not look good at all on either side of the ball. It wasn't. I don't know if they just played down to Missouri's level or what it was, but it's like the Blazers. I have full faith that the Blazers would have walked over either one of them, especially in that second half. It was not pretty.
Now,
But
who's the Blazers?
Valdosta State, man.
Oh, my
No
bad.
history.
Yeah, I got, I had an acquaintance. I thought he was my friend, but it turned out he was only an acquaintance. He played football. He was from Lincolnton, Georgia, and he played his college ball at Valdosta State.
Well, you got to know where Kirby Smart comes from. He's a Blazer.
Cool.
A lot of head coaches actually come through VSU. Well, we're a Division II like national championship type team just about every year. So when people are coming up through their way, especially coaches and stuff, we see a lot of that come through. Is really, really good coaching and really good players. I mean, we have a great team usually, and they're a lot of fun to watch. But their play is different than Division I teams, right? It's just slightly different in the way that the offense is run and the defense is run. But they're fun to watch.
There's more calculus involved than there is smash mouth football.
Well, I think it's a lot more speed, right? It's a lot more of a speed game for them, and trying to, because you don't have that 400-pound lineman. You got a 280-pound lineman, so it's a lot about speed, and it's just different. But it's fun, man. It's fun to watch.
So, Lever lives in Alabama, and he has to hear a lot about football. You're probably not hearing a whole lot out of the Auburn Tigers this year, are you?
Yeah, I would think not. It's not exactly been their year. Yes, sir. Magnum Channel, watching reruns of The Rifleman and Have Gun Will Travel does count as watching TV. I will account for that. I've actually gotten out of it. Like there was like a lineup that I used to watch. Then I went to like this whole like Pete Gunn kind of sea hunt, like early 60s kind of era, just like kind of film noir stuff, and then lately I just haven't been watching much at all.
It seems like Sir Fuzzy is in a rare mood tonight.
Two squirrels fighting over a big nut. The winner takes all. Yes, sir. But he's going to bury that sucker, and then the other one just, knows what's going on.
Back read. It gets even better. He's toning it down now.
Oh, yeah. No, I've been trying to pay some bit of attention. Fuzz is my man. I love to watch what Fuzz has got to say.
Look what Ozark said.
Ozark gave me a little bit of crap about the Mets, but that's all right.
No, he's talking about Vandy and Razorbacks.
Well, yeah, now, but there was a while back he asked me about the Mets, and yes, sir, I am a Mets fan from I would say from birth, but that's not really right. Probably from about 4 or 5, which is funny because my parents don't like sports at all. I just fell in love with that team, and I've been watching them ever since. 200.
Look, I got another rookie question for you guys in the side chat.
Sweet.
Look, so my casting book is the 4th edition. And for me, anytime I get a resource or a manual, I always want to look at the copyright. And I want to know how old that information is in that book, right? So I'm looking here. It says the 1st edition was published in October 2010. And it goes all the way up to the 5th edition, 2017. How much of that information is recycled and or updated that you guys may know? And the reason why I ask that, because if I'm looking at the composition and the hardness of most metals, it's saying wheel weights is 95.5% lead, 0.5% of tin, and 4% of antimony, which around about 9 BHN. Wouldn't that depend on what area you're in? Because I've heard people say, hey, well, you guys' lead is a lot harder than ours. You know what I mean? For the wheel weights. I know I asked about 4 questions. I'm sorry.
Now, Chico, I wish we would have taken the Statler pencils to your lead ingot. But me, Georgia boy, who else?
Was it Jamie?
Was it you, Jamie?
I don't know what you're getting at.
All of our bullets are above 28 BHN.
Not all of mine are, but mine are running 18 to 22 with
Just
my wheel weight.
My straight wheel weights, not the stick-on wheel weights, the clip-on wheel weights. And we talked about this last weekend. And I told Chico, I said, there ain't no sense in even testing it because everybody's getting over 28. The hardest pencil I got, you can just draw on it all day long. It ain't going to scratch it.
See, I'm glad you said that because, like I said, the book is saying now it's 9 BHN for wheel weights.
All right.
You want me to get an ingot and check it right quick?
Sorry, go ahead, Nathan.
As I remember this, the Fuzz backed me up on this because I know you got it probably handy. The first Lyman manual, the old spiral-bound Lyman manual, listed wheel weights exactly like that.
So it's probably
that is old recycled information. Now, my experience has been that there is very little difference between the wheel weights from here, the wheel weights from St. Louis and Oregon. Until you get into places that have, a different thing where they're making. There is a such thing as tin wheel weights, and there's a such, and obviously we get into other metals, and that changes it. But as far as lead wheel weights, if you add stick-on in your mix, that changes it. But as far as just straight-up clip-on wheel weight lead, 28 is damn hard, and that is that's, from my experience, that's like water-quenched wheel weights at their hardest. Everything else should be around 16, 9 to 16 if you're water quenching, somewhere around there.
Well, yeah. I can see what Kenny and Bacon are saying right here. And yes, these are quenched bullets, but then I went and grabbed ingots. And the ingots are above 28.
That to me doesn't make sense unless you're water quenching your ingots.
I'm not water quenching my ingots. Ask Chico. He was here.
Because that is really, 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 really hard for just a standard. Like that's water quench round, so that's weird.
Yeah.
Let me go grab one. We'll check it with the Statler pencils right quick.
And that's why I asked, you know, because I'm looking at this data in the manual or information in the manual, and it's like wheel weights 9 BHE, and I'm like, no, but it's saying linotype is 22.
Yeah.
So I figured this has to be old information. I want my money back. I need to contact my man.
Well, that linotype's about
like,
right though.
Oh,
22
okay.
unquenched. You get.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you remember that those books, they don't really take into account water quenching.
Right. So I was thinking that because I've heard people say, hey, different wheel weights from different states or different regions are different. So that's why I was like, where are they getting these wheel weights from whenever they did this or got this information? So that's why I looked at the copyright of the first printing was October 2010, second April 2012, third was November 13, fourth was March of 16.
Yeah, but Chico, some of that data goes back to the 70s, man. Some of that information, even in that book, like that are in the written part, goes back to the 70s. It goes back a ways.
I think when you get a new revision, I think what happens is they're adding new calibers that have come to life since then, like
Gotcha.
6.5 Creedmoor, all this other stuff.
They'll also change data from time to time, and especially if you have a situation like with Hodgdon and IMR where there is powder that's changing hands and maybe being discontinued or relabeled. So there is some data that is old and shouldn't be relied upon for sure. That's why we check with multiple books when you're looking at data. But by and large, like what Jamie said, what they're adding usually, sometimes they add some articles, but a lot of times it's just new data for new rounds that have gone out of the Wildcat into the sort of the mainstream, like 300 Blackout, things like that.
Yeah. All right, Kyle, you're going to have to file that ingot.
Okay.
No, you need a flat, nice spot right there to.
Okay.
Yeah. When you get into bullet hardness, it is kind of a funny thing, man. I use wheel weights only. Clip-on wheel weights is the lead that I use for everything.
Get rid of that.
Well, and I'll tell you this much, Chico. You talk about lead being different from different regions. My clip-on wheel weights haven't come from Georgia. They've come from all over the country doing wheeling and dealing on the old cast bullet forum. I've never noticed a difference between one box that I might get from, out west versus one I might get from Boston. I haven't noticed a difference personally. That doesn't mean they're not there, but I haven't noticed it.
Now, let me ask you, have any of you guys noticed, and this is what I've noticed, just from me going through separating my, steel and lead and zinc, when I go through, if I'm using the old cutter test, right, I'll get some of those wheel weights that's soft, and some of them are super hard. So that all depends on what kind of wheel is going on. I know that being in the automotive industry. If they're coated, they have that coating on it, they're normally a little bit harder compared to the old regular steel wheel weights. So maybe, I don't know. That's just something to throw out there. I've noticed.
Yeah, man, that's entirely possible.
This is my thinking, and nobody's brought this up yet, and y'all can buzz in and tell me if I'm completely out of my mind. But one of the things that I think we miss is the fact that wheel weights come off of wheels going down the highway.
That is true.
So, with that being said, at what point are we a hazard? I mean, it looks to me like if I'm going down the interstate on my motorcycle and somebody's 2.5 ounce steel wheel weight comes off of their wheel and hits me or my bike, that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt bad. Take the fact that if I'm on the interstate, I'm running at least 65 miles an hour to keep from dying by being run over by somebody. plus the speed of the wheel weight that come off come in the opposite direction. So, you're talking about maybe 100 mile an hour of a 1 ounce, 2 ounce, half ounce, whatever, of steel coming at you. I think some manufacturers, when we're talking about wheel weights, I think we got to bear in mind that there's got to be some kind of a safety factor there to hopefully that's going to give a little bit without. Yeah, Ozark, I know there ain't no metal that's not going to hurt going, on interstate speeds, but
Stick-ons are better than clip-ons though for that kind of stuff. Like if I'm behind a tractor or a truck that throws off a wheel weight and it's a stick-on, I'm much happier than a clip-on because the stick-ons are bendy. There's a chance that it'll hit your windscreen or hit your bar or whatever, and just kind of. But I don't know. That just seems like that. Yeah, I'm with you, man. But then again, I mean, at 60 miles an hour, if they chuck a piece of a tire, that could be your day.
Well, I was behind a Ford Thunderbird one day, and they had a blowout right in front of me. I was in the center lane running down the interstate, and plastic pieces, the tire came apart and started breaking the car up, and plastic was flying everywhere. And luckily, we didn't get hit by anything. But yeah, windscreen, where are you from?
Yes, sir. I was actually windscreen is the term I would utilize for a windscreen on a motorcycle. Now, I wouldn't use windscreen for. I might actually, yeah. I probably normally wouldn't, but I might use it in a car. I don't know, or a truck. Oh boy, yeah. I'll tell you, I haven't had much. Somebody said something in there that I thought was relatively interesting about wheel weights. Oh, I'll tell you one thing that I think does change or has changed. I think that the level of antimony in wheel weights has changed over the years. Now, what exactly that means, I don't know, but I think it has changed. I think the level of antimony has went down. But I don't know what all else that's changed with the whole chemistry of it and whether or not it's still coming in around 9 or not. It could be, but
so while Ozark's on here, I gotta say that the video he put out to the Trace Amigo prequel, and I know Chico commented on it. That's one of the best videos I've seen. I'm nominating Ozark Spirit for Director of the Year.
It was a good one, wasn't it?
Oh, Bacon, if you're still on there, brother, I think you are. That is a heck of an idea. Reloaders Network Awards at the end of the year. Jamie, I think you hit that would be fun.
Yeah, Bacon's.
All right, guys, I've got it. I've got it. If y'all want to see it.
Well, let's see it.
Chico, you were here. You remember when I put all the stick-on lead in there just so we could get a lower BHN?
Yes, we wanted to see both of them.
This is one of those nuggets. After they've cooled and aged a couple of days, you can tell.
Is that the stick-on or the lead? I mean,
well,
the clip-on.
this is mostly stick-ons, mostly stick-ons with a couple of clip-ons. This is a 4B, which is a Burnell hardness, the hell, of 9. Okay, let's see if I can get. Oh, okay, y'all gonna have to tell me if you can see this.
You're just right
barely touches it.
That ain't how you do it, though, Kyle.
Okay, talk to me.
You've got to take your pencil.
Hold it at an angle.
And hold it at an angle like this.
Yeah.
See how this bullet is filed flat? And what you're doing is you're filing away the crystallization on the outside that is naturally harder. So you want to get down to the meat of the lead. and then you got to hold it at like a 45-degree angle like this and put the same amount of pressure and go in a straight line, not side to side, but forward like that. Can you see?
Okay.
Am I making any sense?
You are. Well, here I got a 2B that's an 11 and 12. Now let me grab this B, which is, oh shit, what I do with it? Good God. I just had the B. Where'd the B go? Because the B is the one that actually scribed everything in. There it is. All right. Yeah, I ain't going to be able to see this. I can't get it that close. Maybe if I talk while I'm doing it. The B just barely made a mark in it. It's not a scribe mark. It just depressed it. Does that make sense?
What you're looking for is the pencil that will not only scribe into the lead, but actually lay up a little curl.
Then we're over here in these now. I tried these. I just wasn't talking while I was doing it.
And if you're not going to file, down, if you don't have a file and file down to a smooth spot and get that crystallized outside of it, you're not testing the hardness of the lead. You're testing the hardness of the crystallization of the outside of the ingot, if that makes any sense.
It does. Okay, to be continued. Is that what we're saying?
But probably.
But on the bullets that we were doing and we were casting, on the base of the bullets, which is flat, they were coming up to about between 24 and 28 plus. Of course, they'd already been water quenched at that point.
Yeah. I have a little needle file. You can see that. And
yeah,
that's what I file them down with. Here's one that you can probably see better. This blue one. And I don't know if you saw last week, I did a hardness test for fuzz on these bullets that Willie sent me.
mm-hmm.
But you can see how I've got that filed down right there.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what you got to do. You got to have a flat piece that's not.
You can see the arc across it.
You're not wanting to test the crystallization on the outside of the lead. You got to get to the meat of the lead, and you got to have a good flat spot to do it in. And that's true not only with our pencil method, but it's also true with the Lee bullet hardness tester.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Now you're going to have a difference, though, like you said. That one of the things I've noticed when you water quench lead, the antimony tends to, the way that the thing reformulates when it goes back, the antimony tends to want to kind of run out to the outside. Right? I don't exactly know the chemical part of this, but that outside layer is harder than the inside. It gets a nice candy coating shell on it.
So you're saying like cut the bullet in half and check it there?
But if you did that, if you took if you took and tested the outside of, like, let's say you got a pretty good size, like a muffin tin, a great example, a big old muffin thing, make sure it's flat, and then water quench that whole thing, and you were to test the outside of that, I think it would be significantly harder than the inside of it will be. I don't know. That's just been my experience with it. There is nothing scientific to that.
So you're thinking take my little Harbor Freight chop saw and chop a 44 bullet in half and test it there?
Well, what I would do is just put it up in your vise or whatever, and then just file flat. Right? Just take a rasp and just file off a flat spot on it. That'd be good enough.
I mean, I can do that, but
I mean, it's hard to cut a bullet in half. It's small.
Well, no, not really.
I don't want you to get hurt.
What?
It's a small thing, man. Trying to manipulate that with a saw isn't exactly easy, and I wouldn't want you to hurt yourself. Now,
I'm not
fall,
using
you
a
got much,
chainsaw. I'm using a Harbor Freight saw for the love of God.
there's not much difference, man. Harbor does not exactly make fine machinery. Much as I love them and use
Take
them.
a 44 Magnum, chuck it up in a vise, take it to work, and use a damn die grinder and cut it off, then file that down. That way we can get to the middle of it.
Yeah, all you gotta do is just hit it a couple times with the rasp. I mean, well, you weren't on last week when Jamie did it. Jamie did it for us for a couple different bullets. He was showing everybody how it was done. Harder lead shoots further. Remember the cannons at the fort. But I mean, now bringing this back, I mean, exactly. Loads of bacon's like, why does anybody care too much? And honestly, that's where I'm at nowadays. I don't care because I powder coat everything. And if I got wheel weights, that's hard enough. I'm not gonna have to worry about them stripping or doing anything crazy. And with powder coats, I'm good. Like the only time I'm gonna worry about the hardness of my lead is when I'm gonna do hollow points, and I'm gonna, but that's more of a tin issue than a hardness issue.
So, okay, I'll tell you why. Because I just threw that out there. I was asking about the book. I know he said why the concern over the hardness. I was just wondering, is that still accurate or kind of so accurate compared to what's in this book? And would too much of a hardness cause problems? That's kind of why I threw that out there. Sorry, guys. I'm a rookie.
No, that's all right. Hey, actually, too hard of a bullet can cause a problem.
Okay. It can.
That is a good thing to bring up, brother, especially in this conversation. And Uncle Jim, you missed nothing, brother. We missed you.
That'll cause premature throat and barrel wear.
Well, it can cause that. Yeah, it actually can. But one of the things you can get with a bullet that's too hard is, especially with revolvers, is you don't get good bullet obturation. So when you smack that bullet in the back of in the butt, this is one of the reasons why you don't want a crater bullet. It will when it goes into, I know, not exactly, revolver kind of thing, but when it goes into the throat, that bullet will swell to fill that throat. Then it's got to go through there and then hit the forcing cone, most likely, because none of them are perfectly aligned. Decide to get back square, then fill up what's left of the barrel rifling in there. So if your bullet's too hard, it won't do that. And what it'll do is it'll actually allow gas to go on the outside of the bullet and gas cut when it's going through the throat, and it'll lead because it's a harder bullet. And I have actually done this. So that is a real thing that does happen.
And Coach put it this way. What he said was it's all about matching the hardness to your pressures. That you've got to have that obturation, period. And on lighter loads, that obturation is only going to occur with a softer alloy.
If your bullets are copper plated, you shouldn't have any problems. Shouldn't, depending on what kind of speeds. I mean, if you're talking about like a copper wash, you may run into stuff. But if it's copper coated or got a copper plating, you should be fine. Yeah, I mean, like you said, Ozark. I mean, Coach Brother says it's good. It's about matching your alloy strength with your pressure. See, that's where you get.
That's the scientific part of it. So that's really what I wanted to know, because I was thinking, if you have a 124 grain mold, sometimes if you got a different mix, you may have a heavier or lighter bullet. Correct. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Which could affect your charge. I'm thinking possibly a couple grains or something. So that's what I was kind of heading at. I want to know everything about it, make sure I'm doing it safely and correctly and having fun while doing it. So.
Well, wanting to know everything is a big topic, man. And here's what I'll tell you.
Well, not everything.
Well, no, but I'm being serious. This is the one thing I'll say about cast bullets and trying to understand. Cast bullets, it can be the most infuriating thing in the world to actually get a real answer in. There's all kinds of stuff that's in the lineman books and everything else. But when you get out there dealing with people that have been doing this for 40, 50 years, the amount of information that contradicts each other will drive you mad.
Going against each other, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, one of the things that Coach says is absolutely true. You got speed and pressure, which are two different things, right? I know that a lot of people don't think that, but they are, because you can have a low twist type bullet or a type barrel that will be less apt to strip the bullet, so it'll handle a BHN than a more BHN or a less BHN than a bullet that has a fast twist will. The amount of rifling will make a difference. If you have, micro grooves, right, for a Marlin, that's going to make a difference. So you do kind of have, not only is it a speed and pressure thing, but you have to know what your gun's doing, right? And I don't run that right on the ragged edge anymore. But what I have found for me personally is that the harder bullets tend to do better in rifles, and they tend to do better at faster speeds and higher pressures. Now, if I'm going to run lower pressures and lower speeds, I can use a softer bullet up to the point of shooting like magnums, where you start running into bullet stripping problems. But powder coating seems to be, I'm not going to say fixing a lot of that, but crutching it for sure. And that's me talking a lot. I need to shut up. You guys go.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. I was making a side comment right now to Loads of Bacon and Coach Brothers Arms. They just threw out two good resources that I know gonna help me out. So like I know I said all the information I wanted, but I want a lot of the information so that I can, like I said, understand it more, because I'm still new. And I know you said something about a revolver. You're like, Chico's not a revolver guy. You must have seen Jamie's video. I am a revolver.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yep. No, there's some really good things here. Yeah, absolutely. From ingot to target's a good one. I don't think I've used Artful Bullet. I don't like the lead book. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Fuzz.
There's some pretty good stuff in the front of that lead book as far as casting is concerned.
Yeah, I got her too. I got a few good. I got resources.
That Lyman book you got, Chico, the 4th edition.
Yes, sir.
There's some good stuff in the front of that book too. If you read those chapters in both of those books, a lot of those questions you have will be answered, or they may confuse you more.
Yeah, I mean, I went through them, and sometimes reading, like I said, certain stuff. Like I said, when you have those copyrights, I was like, how old is this information? Because has it changed over the years? Just like certain stuff, gasoline and all that has the chemistry of it changed. That's kind of like, I was like, it's got to be a little off. So, but I'm still, that's just I think that's the mechanic in me that wants to break stuff down. So sorry.
No, you're absolutely right, and it has. I'm sure it has changed just like gas has. I mean, you got all kinds of alcohol in it and lead out of it, and
right. Yeah, see that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm sure you're right. But I'm also pretty sure that whatever book you pick up is going to keep telling you the same information that one has in it. Cool. But when you test it to your own, you're going to find it's going to be different.
Right. Well, thanks, guys. Sorry.
But that's a really good, man. That's a heck of a topic, man. There's a lot of. You've definitely spurred on a lot of side chat too.
I'll probably get it going, man. I know all the guys in the side chat like, this damn rookie. This rookie. But no, I kind of, it helps to, instead of me asking questions online somewhere, because you get all kind of crazy information. I said, no, I ain't asking nobody online, nowhere. I'm going to ask these guys on Friday night. So
Sean brings up another point, right, is the different alloys cast different size. You have more tin, it'll get bigger. You have less tin, it'll get smaller. Linotype will be bigger. So that's another thing to keep in mind, especially when you're shooting for a specific size. Now, like I said, once again, powder coating seems to be crushing a lot of that nowadays. But I remember having to deal with that with my Lyman molds, because Lyman tends to run a little small, is having to tin up or linotype just to get the right size out of it.
Well, I think Bacon's got some good points, and I know Coach does too. And they seem to be at polar opposite ends of what we're talking about. But I think if we come up with an alloy that we like, a hardness that we like, once we get it powder coated and it's acting like a jacket, I think it's a softer alloy is going to work pretty good inside that powder coated jacket, or at least that's the way what I've noticed in the brief time that I've been doing it.
I agree. With handguns anyway. Now with rifles, I don't know. With rifles, I think I would go a harder, especially being that I'd be probably doing 30-30 out of my Marlin or something, and I would want something a little bit harder. But yeah, I agree.
We're going to be working on that after the first of the year. Me and Cletus is going to tag team 30-30. And I think with my 35, I'm running 18 to 20, 16, 18, 20 BHN. Out of that, running anywhere from 17 to 2100 feet per second. And they're hitting, well, you've seen the groups.
Yeah.
And that 4895 worked. I mean, from when I say that was our best powder so far, what I mean is that it held the most consistent groups through all of the, we had some groups on different powders that got pretty big. So, but then you'd have the real small ones, your accuracy node. But the 4895 seemed like all of those groups were right at an inch or better at 25 yards. So
we got measuring greens in the side chat here. Coach Brothers Firearms, appreciate you guys coming out. Big Al, of course, loads of bacon. Once again, go check out the reloadersnetwork.com. Ozark Spirit, who decided to blow up a pig using tannerite some time ago. You need to go back watch that, guys. Ocean 374, appreciate you coming out. Vanessa, as always, a pleasure. Who else we got here? Tim, PC Bullet Empire, the Magnum Channel, James Pollard, Cranky Cletus. Oh boy, who else we got here? Sean Tierney, Buzz the Fork 8, of course, Man, the Myth, Legend, KFW. Guys, look, I appreciate guys and gals. Don't want to be that dude. Everybody, I appreciate you guys coming out. I really do. And I know everybody else does, or the rest of the chat does anyway, because we talk about it. After we tell you guys, we close down, we sit here and just talk about how awesome it is to get this opportunity to talk to you guys for a couple hours mostly every week. But Eagle Eye, appreciate you coming out as well. Guys, I do appreciate it. It's been a pretty good chat so far. We're coming up close to 10 o'clock, so probably start closing it down here in a bit. But just wanted to let everybody know I do appreciate everybody that showed up.
I'll start closing us down as well, and I'll say that I'll second that. And I will also say that there's a lot of you guys out there in the side chat that I want to have on as our guest at some point or another. And that if you may be getting an invite from me on Slack and just respond and tell us what you can, or Ozark, we're going to have you on soon if you can swing it. And Nathan was all like, we don't want to have a guest every single week because we'll run out of guests. And I'm like, don't worry about it, Nathan. We'll have somebody every week. And then when we run out of guys to have as guests, we'll start over at the beginning. We'll get Uncle Jim back on here. And then Ozark, we may have an 8-hour live chat.
Yeah, no doubt. Before we get to it, I wanted to bring up again, guys, and this is way early in the chat, so you're gonna have to do a little bit of searching. But Scotsman posted a link to EdUSA. If you want to go donate some money for his family, please go ahead and do that. It's way up in the chat, though. I don't have maybe I'll come up with the link. I'll try to drag it back down, but definitely give that a look.
me see if I can find it right quick.
If Scotsman's still out there, and I don't think he is, maybe he can post us that link again. There he is. Before I can get it out of my mouth, he's got it. You the man, Scotsman.
All right, he's got it.
I think we need to say that the fundraiser for Ed USAF will end on November the 4th, and Scotsman's going to have something coming up for Chris's family, and I feel bad because I never knew that C-Max was. Excuse me. I never knew that C-Max was actually here in Georgia, or we would have reached out to him a long time ago.
I didn't know he was so. I didn't know it was so damn close.
Me either. Big Al, while you're out there, when we were on the Halloween chat on Uncle Jim, I couldn't come up with a costume, so I decided I'd go put my white shirt and tie on and be a politician because politics is running rampant around here. And after it was over, somebody said, I thought Jamie was, I think it was Chico, wasn't it you, Chico?
Yeah, I was like, Big Al.
Said, thought I was, my costume was Big Al. So if imitation is truly the sincerest form of flattery, Big Al, you should feel blessed, buddy.
I always see Big Al shooting in that suit and tie, wear a shirt and tie. So I was like, hey, that's Big Al on the chat. So,
we were laughing about that last weekend. Yeah, I remember that.
Man, I'll tell you what, that's one way to get some interesting comments on your video is have a video where you're in a suit and tie. I think I got one video where I was in underbox and I was still at work at my work clothes, and I just got hammered with like just people just ribbing me to pieces.
Man, I may do that. I go put on my suit and go to the gun range, man.
There you go.
Hey, look, well, I'll do my outro. So, guys in the side chat, we had 29 people. Hey, look, thanks for showing up. I will try to not be too rookie-ish on here sometimes, but sometimes my mind is working. I want to know from all these, y'all don't trip on me for saying this, all these seasoned casters and reloaders. So, because I know the information's out there, but, you know, I'm never afraid to ask the questions because the only dumb question is the one that's not asked. So, y'all forgive me if I stirred y'all lead pot a little bit, but I wanted to know. So, but thanks for being here. I'm excited about being here always. So, and I'm going to pass it on that way.
That would be Kyle.
Oh, it's been passed. The torch has been passed to me. I just want to thank everybody for being here. I'm sorry I got here late. I had some issues I had to deal with, and hopefully they're dealt with. They're probably not. But I want to thank everybody for showing some love and coming out here and helping all of us just relax on a Friday night because it really means a lot to all of us on the panel, especially. We just go and just feel like we're sitting around a campfire talking with our best friends. So that's the way I take it. If y'all take it some way different, call me wrong, but that's where I'm at.
I would second that, brother. I feel the same way.
And Chico,
I'm a lot more relaxed than I was about an hour and a half ago.
And Chico, look, man, never worry about asking kind of new questions because it is so nice having somebody that's newer to this kind of join in and ask these questions, man, because there's some of these questions are things that I've asked years ago, but I don't think about them a lot anymore. So, man, I love getting those questions, dude. Keep them coming.
And you know, sometimes I think that people, if they're interested in something, they probably won't ask it in the side chat. You know what I mean? But me, because I'm, and that's nothing against them, but me, because I'm doing the stuff, I'm casting, I'm doing a little stuff, and I'm like, Man, I got some questions, man. I want to know if you guys ran through this before, because so that's just how I am, man. But I'll definitely keep you guys. I won't take it over all the time. I won't ask rookie questions all the time.
No, man, it's fine by me, dude, because that's what we're here for. Vanessa, that's hilarious. That just kills me, man. Like somebody actually hurrying home to catch the show. That is really awesome.
Thanks.
This provides us everybody with so much of a cool opportunity to talk amongst each other and kind of have this community. It's amazing to me. Loads of Bacon does in the Reloaders Network, what Scotsman does on his Sunday chats, with Uncle Jim does on his the Reloaders Network chats, and it's just amazing the community that grows up around that, and everybody trying to help everybody out and learn from everybody. I know I appreciate it, and I haven't been able to make videos for, I don't know, what's it been, like 3 months now, but being able to come in and do these live chats has made the world of difference for me. If I wasn't able to do this and still not able to do videos, it would have a serious negative impact on me personally. So thank you guys for coming out and watching. Thanks the panel for joining us.
Hey, before you sign off, I want to say welcome to Willie Bulletman.
Oh man, I didn't even see him sneak in. Yeah, Willie, glad you can make it.
He
just got here.
Just
Hey, Willie.
And I saw Phil Rivers kind of come in the last minute. And Mig, you know what, Mig? I am so sorry, man, that we're closing up out of time. I know you get off of work late. I know you're out there in the Midwest area. So I'm sorry we're closing up as you're coming in. You're my boy Blue. Dude, I swear my first video back is going to be my video working on the case feeder. Promise. So guys, I appreciate it. And we'll be back next week, probably with a guest. I'm guessing, by the way, Jamie's saying. So look forward to that. We'll let you know.
I have a special surprise for next week. If everything works out the way I'm planning it. And yeah, we'll have a special guest next week. And when I get to where I can confirm it with him, we might get Nathan to put an announcement up. But y'all, we had as many as 29 on here tonight, and that's impressive to me. I can't believe 29 people want to hear what we're talking about. But
Mig wants to have a margarita chat tomorrow.
Vanessa's wanting to know what your favorite caliber is, 270 or 30-06. That's like me trying to pick between my kids. Those are my two favorite flavors. But again, thanks everybody for coming. We are working on having a guest next week, so y'all come back and we're going to have a big time. So,
and to everybody, it was a lot of fun. It was great. I got here late. My apologies. I'm not trying to take anything away from all of these great people on the panel. I'm just trying to say I'm sorry because I was late.
All right, guys, I appreciate it. 243 just sneaking in here right as the close, man. I am sorry that we're closing down, but I hate it for the guys that can't get here but till late. But I do appreciate everybody coming out. And Big Al, if it's Bill Murray, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I appreciate it, guys. Everybody have a good night, and we will see you next week. Later.
Later, guys and girls.
And girls.